Welcome. You are now tuned in to the Expert Advice for Men podcast. For more information, visit us at www.expertadviceformen.com. And here is your host, Billtown Radley.
Hey guys, first off, I want to thank you all for your support because in just 6 weeks, we've passed 1,000 followers on Instagram and have been downloaded several hundred times in multiple countries around the world. I appreciate all your support and the support of our previous guests of the show. Together, we're going to keep growing this podcast and deliver you the best experts, giving you the best information. And today, we get to sit down with a true expert Las Vegas bartender, Daniel Keaveney. Now, this episode was created as an addition to our Side Hustle session series, but in talking with Daniel, I soon realized there are levels to the bartending profession, and I want to pay respect to the master mixologists like Daniel, in which bartending isn't just a simple side hustle. For Daniel, bartending is indeed a craft skill and his passion. In this episode, Daniel will give us his expert advice and opinions on formal bartender training programs, his approach for landing a great paying bartending job, and his number one piece of advice for all aspiring bartenders. Daniel also mentions in our interview he will be competing in a bartending mixology competition similar to the TV show Chopped Kitchen, using mystery ingredients to create a craft cocktail. The correct date for Daniel's competition will be September 14th at the Sound Dollar Lounge in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you're in the area, be sure to check Daniel in action. Now, without waiting any longer, here's Daniel Keaveney on the Expert Advice for Men podcast. So guys, we've got Daniel Keaveney from Las Vegas, Nevada. Daniel is a veteran bartender with over 10 years of mixology experience and is also a member of the U.S. Bartenders Guild. Not only is bartending Daniel's profession, it's also his passion, and Daniel's going to give us his expert advice on one of the most popular side hustles out there, becoming a bartender. Good evening, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing great. So our listeners can have a bit of context and better relate to your story. We ask all our guests their age.
I'm 39. Actually, October, I'm turning 40. So.
Nice. You going to spend it in Vegas?
Of course. I mean, I've been here for since 2003, actually.
Oh, awesome. I'm 42 years old myself. I actually spent my 40th birthday at Cut at the Palazzo. One of the best meals of my life out there. I loved it out there.
They're good over there.
Yes,
they're really
man.
good over there.
All right, now before we talk about bartending, tell us a bit about your background. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Boston originally, or the suburbs of Boston, but I did get my bartending start in Boston proper, right near Faneuil Hall Marketplace at a little place called the Union Oyster House.
Have you always been in the food service industry?
Yeah, actually I have. When I was 16, I started at a little bagel cafe in my little hometown. Before that, I had a construction job because I delivered papers to one of my customers. They had a construction business and did a little construction. But after that, yeah, it's pretty much all food service.
Awesome. So what inspired you to become a bartender?
It was a very organic way of becoming a bartender. At that restaurant, I started as an assistant to the receiver, taking in all the orders as they come into the restaurant. From there, I walked into the kitchen, worked all the stations in the kitchen. Busser called out, so I started bussing tables. A bartender called out, and well, there I was,
Awesome. So you started in the restaurant business. Did you also do nightclubs at the time in Boston?
Never. I've never done a nightclub,
You've
actually.
Never done the nightclub scene in Vegas or in Boston?
No, it's never really been my kind of thing. I wasn't really at that fast-paced thing, although my first gig in Vegas, it was at Bill's Gambling Hall and Saloon, which is, it was a dive casino way back when.
And we'll get into your Vegas experience here in a moment. How many days a week were you bartending to start in Boston?
It was only a couple days here and there, but I mean, I was one of those employees that filled in all the positions. So although I might be cooking one day, I was bussing tables another, maybe filling in for another, I kind of did every position in that restaurant.
So you pretty much learned on the job. You didn't have like formal bartender school training?
Not at that time. I mean, you don't need to know much to pour a beer. It is pretty simple do the simple things of bartending.
Now, do you know this answer to this question? Does each state have different licensing when it comes to that type of stuff, as far as you need to
Absolutely.
have specific training, 30 hours or whatever like that?
It's not exactly a certain amount of training or anything. Here in Las Vegas, it's a very union-run business here in Vegas. So the union does require you to go through their union school before you become a union bartender. However, that's not true all around the country. You don't really need any formal training or anything. You need to have people skills. You need to convince the person hiring you that you're going to be able to do the job.
Right, and that makes sense with formal training being that Vegas is the mecca of bartending, food service in the industry, service industry, I should say. So have you had your experiences working with people that had formal training versus on-the-job training? What's your experience been with those types of bartenders?
I mean, I've actually gone through tons of mixology classes, seminars, bartending schools. I have done a lot of that formal training. But again, I'm very passionate about what I do. You know, I always want to learn more about the product that I sell. You don't need that. You need to know how to communicate with people. You need more people skills than the average person. I think that's the basis of it.
So when it comes to bartending schools, let's say just to start off, this is kind of a start off for somebody interested in becoming a bartender. Do you know how long those programs generally are for your basic courses, and how much does it cost to attend one of those basic courses?
One of my first ones I went to just to get my feet wet and try to learn what the hell bartending was all about was ABC Bartending School. I can't remember how much they were. I think it was about a 12-week course, something like that. And they taught you how to do your pour count. They taught you, different mixed drinks. They taught you basically how to bartend without the customers. A lot of people frown upon the whole formal training as a bartender because there's plenty of people out there making killer money and never been to any school whatsoever.
Right. So what brought you to, let's talk about Vegas. What brought you out to Las Vegas?
It was a fresh start after college. My then girlfriend, current wife, she had an internship at the local hospital here, and I just put on a backpack and flew out here with her.
And where are you working right now?
So I'm currently working for a chef called James Trees. He owns Esther's Kitchen. I'm bartending in the downtown arts district. But prior to that, I was all on the strip. I was at Bill's Gambling Hall, which is actually now the Cromwell next to the Flamingo. But when Bill's closed, I moved over to Caesar's Palace. And from Caesar's, I went to the Venetian, actually.
And how many days a week or how many hours a day are you working right now currently?
Right now, I got a pretty cushy job. It's not a typical bartending shift. I'm working Monday through Friday, 10 to 4.
Oh,
I have nights and weekends off.
That's like banker's hours here. Very nice.
Seriously.
Well, I guess that, you've paid your dues, right? It's kind of like any job.
Absolutely.
You start off with the crummy hours, and then as you get better and you get build up your skills and clientele, of course, you get the pick of the litter when it comes to the hours, right?
Yeah, my customers have always, oh man, you only work day shift? How'd you do that? I said, I've done this for a long time. I deserve this now.
Right, exactly. So how did you go about finding a job in Las Vegas?
Mine was very unorthodox. It's not how you do it anymore.
Okay.
Vegas has completely changed. But at the time, I was actually a food service manager at the airport. And my dishwasher was making a ton more than I was. I mean, the dishwasher.
Oh,
because
wow.
they're all unionized.
Oh, right,
so they all get that union pay. They all get that good insurance. They all get that good vacation.
Yes.
Absolutely,
yes.
all of that.
Yeah.
So I was fed up and I put in an application with Bill's Gambling Hall. And I had a friend over there, and they said that my application he saw was sitting on the desk for the last couple of weeks. So I just kind of walked down there, picked up the house phone, asked to talk to the manager, and he brought me right down to the office and hired me on the spot.
Wow. And that was, how long were you at Bill's for?
Started in 2007, and they closed, I think, in 2012.
So you just put in an application like you would at any, like a grocery store, and they hired you, huh?
I mean,
wow.
I mean, that's where it goes back to the beginning, where I say you need to convince the person hiring you that you're going to be able to do the job. You have to be assertive. You have to be sure about yourself.
Right.
Don't be a
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, would you say Vegas is competitive when it comes to bartenders and jobs out there?
Nowadays, it's super competitive nowadays. The way craft cocktails and mixology has kind of swept the country, everybody needs to really know their shit. nowadays.
Step up their game, right? That makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, and I've looked at your Instagram, and guys, for guys listening, just make sure, and we're going to have this in our show notes, to follow our friend here, Daniel, on his Instagram. He has beautiful pictures of the cocktails that you make, along with Vegas scenery and some pretty cool photos with some pretty cool celebrities, I must say. Bobby
Yeah,
Flay, one of them, I saw that one. That's awesome. So, explain to me, because I was doing the research here, what is the United States Bartenders Guild?
So it's a small group of bartenders that, I say small, but we're here in Vegas. We're, I think, the third largest chapter at this point. But it's people that actually give a shit about the craft of bartending. It's more than a job for them. They actually care about what they do. They connect, they network. I mean, they have distributors that are members. They have managers that are members, directors of programs, bartenders, barbacks. I mean, we're a close-knit community. And we just push each other to get better. And we'll mention it at the end of the podcast, but I have something little coming up too.
Oh, awesome.
But it's all through the United States Bartenders Guild. And it's a good group to just try to make bartenders better at what they do.
Okay. Now, you said that you didn't have any night. I'm sure you've had friends, though, bartender friends that have that nightclub experience. Because for those listening, and myself included, I was also in the industry. And through college, I was actually a disc jockey for one of the local radio stations, Cube 93 FM, many years ago, doing club nights and stuff like that. So I remember those club days, and I remember the glitz and glam getting into it, especially when you're younger, but it's not always what it's cracked up to be sometimes. What would your pros and cons be talking to friends who do, as far as pay, bartending at a restaurant versus bartending at a nightclub environment?
So the nightclub environment is a very fast-paced. It's not very fine cocktails. The customer service isn't exactly there as it would be in a restaurant, where you build a relationship with your bartender. You get food, you get the drinks. The bartender will understand what kind of drinker you are. Nightclub, it's Red Bull and vodka, a shot of this,
Yeah.
or bottle service, but it is great money. Don't get me wrong. It's great money and very cutthroat, they're model bartenders nowadays. So they get hired as models, which means you have to keep a certain look and a certain weight upon you at all times. So it's a younger guy's game. Again, I'm turning 40 in a few months, it's not really my scene anymore.
I'll say you look great for 40. I'll say that. And it's actually true. You're right. I even see it with DJing. Back in the day, it was all about your skills and the music. You blended together and getting the crowd going. Now you can be in a bikini. And I'm sure there's gals out there and even guys, shirtless DJs. I'm sure some of them have some really good skills, but you're right. It's kind of a visual thing first for everybody. And then sometimes the skills come in second, third, or fourth sometimes in the nightclub scene.
Actually, it's exactly like bartending. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries.
No, absolutely. Because I've even found, here in Vegas, it's all glitz and glam, all very showy. And although there's some great female bartenders out there, a look gets you a long way. And being a male and aging, I got to just keep educating myself and keep knowing more than the average bartender. That way I can kind of market myself better than just my looks.
So let's talk about restaurant bartending versus Vegas. This is the Mecca. So I'm sure the numbers will be different from your average person starting off in the Midwest or in the Northwest where I'm from. But what could a restaurant bartender expect to make on an average night, say a busy Friday or Saturday evening in Vegas versus in like a smaller market?
Right now, probably a couple hundred a night on a Friday or Saturday night.
That's in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So about $200 or $300 in tips, depending on how the night was going. I know that my bartenders at Esther's are right around the $200 mark. But honestly, if you can break a bill, you're in a pretty good spot.
Okay.
I've always had $100 kind of benchmark. If I can make $100 a night, I'm doing awesome. Yeah. Again, it's a 5-day-a-week job, so you're not always making that kind of money on like a Tuesday night.
Right, and that makes sense, and that's why we crafted this episode and have this on our series, the Side Hustle series. So if you have a job, maybe you work or even going to school, that's kind of what I did throughout my college career. I DJ'd at nightclubs and did some mobile DJing on Friday, Saturday nights, worked 4 or 5 hours, up until the wee hours of the day. But that allowed me to study Monday through Friday, get that degree, or, for other people to work or spend time with their families and get a little extra money on the weekends.
I mean, if you generally like people, working a college bar doesn't really take any skill except for your people skills. Anyone can pour your shot of vodka. Anyone can pull a beer. Anyone can open it up. It's about the experience that you have. You have to be able to like people in the worst forms.
Right, exactly.
I mean, for the longest time, I was actually bartending on the strip on Graveyard was most of my shifts, either 1 a.m. to 9 a.m., 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. I saw people at their worst, but man, it was a lot of fun.
Right,
It was a lot of fun.
So look, we'll talk about that here. So of the profession, let's talk about the pros. Let's list them down. So what would be one? We would say flexibility on schedule. Would that be one?
The number one thing that I get out of bartending is that I'm like the host of a party. I host a party every single night. And when somebody tastes a drink that I actually make and their face just melts, that's what I get out of bartending. It's not the money. It's not any of that, but I've grown into that too.
That's awesome. Any other pros would you say? So that's the money, the social environment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a social butterfly. I love being around people. I love talking to people. The money is great if you want to go that route. You can find some really good money-making jobs where you don't need much experience at all.
Okay.
There's so many avenues you can take with bartending. It's really ridiculous.
Right.
But as a side hustle, it's really easy to get into as long as you know how to talk to people.
Right. And it sounds like you're stressing that out. And yeah, that's going to be one of the points we'll stress in our show notes, making sure that you are sociable. Because like you said, if you're just mumbling and you're just kind of an introvert, this might not be for you here.
Definitely not.
What would you say would the cons be with becoming a bartender, whether it's a restaurant bartender or a nightclub bartender?
The nightclub can get to you with the smoke, the late nights. You're going to bed when the sun's coming up, and you're waking up when the sun's going down. It's not always the healthiest of environments because a lot of extracurricular activities go on during those hours too.
Right.
Especially here in Vegas, people can get caught up with all those little extras, and it can really run a person down.
Right. And you are paid by you have an hourly wage and tip wage. Is that how it works in Vegas, being that you're unionized? Now, the nightclub promoters don't pay you or anything like that?
No, definitely not. So typically, like on the strip in the casinos and everything, we have a tip compliance with the IRS. So the managers and the IRS have this agreement, and each shift, each bar on the strip has a certain amount per hour that the IRS is going to tax each bartender. And then the bartenders don't have to claim any tips at all. So all the cash and all the credit cards just go in their pocket because the IRS is already taxing them what they assume they're going to make.
Right. So this is actually great. I didn't even think about the different styles because, like I said, I've always been a nightclub DJ, and you're right. Being a bartender for restaurants, you're serving more of a craft audience, a craft cocktail, and you're not dealing with the crazy drunks that got shot down by 20 women. Now they want to fight you, and the guy who's always pushing at everybody because he had, like you said, 6 shots of vodka and Red Bulls. It's just, you don't deal with that crowd. So this is a good little thing I didn't even know about as a different kind of avenue to still be a bartender and still make great money without some of those cons associated with the nightclub bartending scene.
Yeah, so in the restaurant, I'm able to give hospitality. It's not about bang and go. It's not about just getting someone drunk. It's about the hospitality and the experience that they have from when they sit down to when they get their appetizers to when you finish the meal, maybe with a good Amaro or some cognac and have a good handshake goodbye. I don't know how many customers give me a hug after they leave. Thank you so much. And that's the best feeling in the world.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. So, knowing what you know now, 10 years in the game plus, knowing what you know now, would you still pursue a career in bartending?
Absolutely. Hands down.
What would you change? Would you do anything or change anything differently from you've done now?
I always say I have no regrets. I never want to go back and do something differently because where I am now, everything that's happened made me what I am now. I've had some really terrible jobs. I've been out of work for a while at some point. And all those things put together has made me the whole bartender that I am now.
Excellent. And so you've already kind of answered this, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. In your opinion, what separates the best bartenders making the most money and getting the best positions to the average bartender out there?
I would definitely say it's those social skills. I mean, it's not just about your customers, it's about how you can network within your own industry too. Because repeat business, local business is really what drives your business,
Right.
especially in a tourist area like Las Vegas. The more locals, the more people that can regularly come down to you, that's where it's all at.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'll add to that with any business, don't burn bridges. I know it's very easy because to be PO'd at that nightclub promoter or that other bartender, or I'm F this place. I can burn it down. I don't care. And then you burn that bridge and you never know you're gonna cross that bridge, especially like you said, in Vegas where everybody's connected, everybody knows each other. Like I said, it's all about the social skills, making those connections.
Yeah, I mean, there have been jobs where I say, I'll never work for that company ever again. However, I left on good terms.
Right.
I am still rehirable. I mean, you can write someone off without telling them off too.
Yep.
I would say, take care of your problems privately and boast about your great experiences publicly.
I like that. I'm going to have to rewind this and write that one. That's a good quote. I might have to put that on Instagram. And finally, our last question, what piece of advice would you give others considering becoming a bartender?
Be easy on your pride. Pride can get a lot of people in trouble because people don't exactly know how to talk when they're dazed, when they're really drunk. They might piss you off and not intend to piss you off. You can't take things personally. You got to kind of swallow your pride a lot. Be a nice guy regardless of what happens. Being an angry bartender, I hate working with angry bartenders. And there's plenty out there. Those people are not fun to be around.
Just have a thick skin when it comes down to it, huh?
Seriously.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you for your time. Now we're going to segue into what we call the E4Q. And if you've listened to our podcast, the E4Q stands for the exclusive 4 questions we ask all our podcast guests to get personal insight from others with different backgrounds and different walks of life. So question number 1, tell us a place you've traveled or an adventure you've taken that you feel every man should experience once in their life.
Right after college, I was fortunate enough to have my father help me out on this. I kind of traveled Europe for 3 months backpacking. I went to London, Amsterdam, and Barcelona. I traveled to 3 countries all by myself, met people that didn't speak English all that well. You have to communicate. You have to try to get through life without anybody helping you.
And this was like before the internet and before Google Translate and all that stuff was hot. Yeah,
absolutely. I did not have a cell phone when I was out there at all.
So you did the whole backpacking through Europe thing.
2003, the summer of 2003, I was out there doing all that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had a lot of answers to that question, but yeah, the backpacking through Europe, that's a good one. So question number...
At any age.
Yeah, that's right. I'm only 42. I guess I could still do it too. So question number 2, what is a skill you possess or you wish you possessed that you feel every man should possess?
Right back to it, those people skills. I mean, it goes in and out of life all throughout my life. If you can get along with people, it really helps out. I mean, don't be that angry person. I say that. I know I'm angry sometimes. It happens.
Right.
But in a perfect world, you've really got to be personable and be able to talk to people. Got to be able to sell ice to an Eskimo kind of thing, That's 100%
true. So question number 3, give us an app on your phone that you use that you feel every man should use.
Well, one thing on my social media, and I'm going through it, is misinformation. People that don't know what the they're talking about. Use Google. It's there for a reason.
Anything specific that's come up?
Recipes, histories, misconceptions about food. I mean, it's wide, but the information is there at your fingertips. There's no reason that you have to be saying the wrong thing. And don't just get your information from one source. You got to cross-reference everything.
Yeah,
if you have the misinformation out there in bartending is widespread because most of the stories built around alcohol are from people that have been drunk. They're drunk stories,
Right, yeah.
So you got to kind of try to cross-reference. And I think Google is one of the best things around, especially if you're an aspiring bartender, because you can look up the proper recipes for whatever you need to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's funny. I had this conversation with somebody else. It's like, I don't know if you're old enough to remember back in the day, we used to have Encyclopedia Britannicas. And the Encyclopedia man would come to your house and my dad bought the whole set. And I mean, you got the encyclopedia in your pocket right now. Everything from, like you said, mixed drinks to ingredients, recipes, everything's right there. So yeah, cross-reference that and get the facts straight, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So this is our last question of our interview. What piece of advice right now would your older self give your younger self, let's say 10 years ago?
I was thinking about this one a lot. And I mean, I actually started bartending on the strip when I was 27. Prior to that, because right after college, I came out here and I got into management. I started managing restaurants. I started trying to climb the corporate ladder. I'd probably tell myself just to start as a bartender when I first moved out here, right when I was 22. It would have worked out a lot better. I would have been able to climb the ranks. I think that's the only thing kind of that I didn't start into bartending younger.
What do you think kept you from doing that?
I thought, I got a college degree. I'm going to be a manager. I'm going to kind of climb the corporate ranks and do something better, but it didn't work out for me.
Oh, it's working out for you right now. So this is awesome, Daniel. Thank you again for your time tonight. So guys, before you head on out yourselves, make sure you follow Daniel on Instagram. And his Instagram is Las Vegas _bartender, not underscore, Las Vegas _bartender. He has over 16,000 Instagram followers and images of some amazing cocktails, like we said. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to give?
So coming up September 19th, I'm going to be in a bartender competition. It's going to be a kind of like an Iron Chef kind of competition. I'm going up against another bartender from the Nomad Casino, Adam O'Donnell. Both me and him, they're going to bring out some unknown ingredients, and we're going to have to each make a cocktail under a certain amount of time, a la minute, right there, right in front of everyone.
That's all. I didn't even know these competitions like that. That's like Chopped Kitchen, like the TV show Chopped, right? Mean,
it all comes from that United States Bartenders Guild. They kind of organize all this stuff, and they have bartender competitions all over the place.
And what date is this again?
September 19th.
September 19th. This is going to be at a casino in Vegas? I'll
yes.
edit this all out, and I'll make sure we have the date, the time, the location. We'll also put that on our Instagram, and I'm sure you'll be putting that on your Instagram too. So we'll get those dates correct. Good luck with your competition. Thank you again for joining us. And if you have any other things coming up, just give us a holler, and we'd love to have you on the show again.
Always. Great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and reminder that Daniel's competition will be on September 14th at the Sound Dollar Lounge in Las Vegas, Nevada. I told you guys before our interview, there are levels to the bartending game, and it was great to hear the expert advice from somebody like Daniel on the top of their profession. Of course, that's how it goes at the Expert Advice for Men podcast. We only bring you guys the best. Tune in again next week for another informative episode. Until next time, guys, go out there and make it happen.
Thank you for listening to the Expert Advice for Men podcast with your host, Belltown Radley. If you enjoyed our show, make sure to rate it 5 stars, leave a positive comment, and share it with your friends. Your support means everything. Until next time, this is the Expert Advice for Men podcast.